Okay, my friends, welcome back to part 2 of this lovely little painting we're doing here, Tork Waterfall in County Kerry. So we finished the waterfall pretty much. It's still wet. I just finished this about 2 or 3 hours ago. I'm going to move on to these lovely trees. Let's create some nice depth in the trees. So look, we'll finish the trees all the way around and we'll call this part 1 finished. Or part 2 finished, sorry. We'll have half the painting finished. So let's start painting trees. So I want to start off first with a nice distant green, a cool green. So I'm going to take a large flat brush. All right. I'm going to take a little phaylo blue and I'm going to take some cadmium yellow. I want to put plenty of blue in this. If you have French ultramarine or cobalt, that would do as well, but phthalo blue is much richer in color, so you get a lot more vibrancy with phthalo blue than you would with French ultramarine or cobalt. So that's the only reason I use phthalo blue, to be quite honest. It's a lovely richness to it. Now I've taken phthalo blue, cadmium yellow and a little magenta. The magenta with the blue will help create that kind of a distant blue, okay? But there's a hint of green in this also. Then I'm going to take some white into that. That will give us a lovely cool green. So it's just a case of going along and just keep adding and adding until you find you have the color you want. I'm going to take a look at this now. Right. I'll use that and I'll just come in to the painting on the sides. So in other words, this is going to be that kind of distant bluey green just coming into the picture, and because it's nice and dark here, this will just about show and just create a little bit of foliage cutting in front of. Let's take a bit of Naples yellow. A touch of Naples yellow as well will just add a touch of warmth to that, only a slight touch, mind you. And look, we can put a little bit of that foliage just cutting across in front of the waterfall here and there. I think that will make a nice little color up there. I'm taking a touch of cadmium yellow as well, so I'm making it a nice slightly warmer green. You see that? So I'm kind of encasing the waterfall, and this green will just kind of push everything back nicely. And a lot of people now are probably saying, how are you getting the foliage like that? Well, look, it's just a normal flat brush on its side. I'm kind of pushing down at a slight angle like this, you see? And then softening it back. And that creates just a nice little sense of foliage in the painting. Now I can't see, I just will have to tilt this forward for a moment because I'm down low, I'm looking up at the painting, all right? So I can see the shine from the lights. So I just need to tilt this forward a little so I can see. Now I can get a good proper view of that. That's quite nice. I think that's quite nice actually. I'm going to come across here and fill in this area with what I have on my brush. Doesn't matter if it's light or dark or whatever, it's just a little bit of green to fill in that white. I'm basically thinking about covering the white. That's all I'm doing. Now as it comes down, I'm going to get stronger with the green. So I'll take again phthalo blue and lots of cadmium yellow. Very thick colour, the cadmium yellow, but that's good. A little turpentine in there, just a little bit of thinners, and a touch of, let's go with burnt umber. A small touch of burnt umber as well. That's going to give me a nice warm green. See, nice little olive green. I'm going to soften that in and just kind of come out then into the rocks again. And come right down. And I'm dabbing as I come out by the rocks, you see that? Let's bring this up, soften it above, very loosely. So that's the base kind of a green done. Now I'm going to go much darker. So what I tend to do when I'm painting foliage like this is I kind of I tend to go with the much darker colours in and then put the bright colours on top to create the highlighted foliage, if you understand. So I'm going to mix a nice dark colour. I'm going to go with lamp black and lots of cadmium yellow. Mix plenty now, don't be shy. We have a big area to cover. A little bit more black, and then a little touch of phaylo blue. I'm going to put that in down here. Now what this will do is, because it's getting darker as it comes down, it pushes the top colours away into the distance, creating that sort of distant feeling. So any foliage that's kind of closer to you will start to get kind of darker and richer in colour. Do you understand what I mean? So I'll just soften that up then. Dab, 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 just to create a bit of texture in the painting. That's all, really. A little bit of texture. Soften it upwards. You can just even go all the way if you like. Look, just to create a little bit of roughage, a little bit of darkness up there. That's coming on quite nice, I must say. I might take a touch of sienna, and what I might do is just pop a little touch of sienna in here and there. It's only really just to vary the shades a little. You understand what I mean by that? Just to add a little bit of colour in there. One thing you don't want is to have it completely the same colour, kind of a green all the way down. It's a good idea to just add little touches of colour through it. So look, I'll take a touch of cadmium red even. Just add a touch of cadmium red through the green. Just adding some warm tones here and there. And that just creates a bit of interest, really. That's all it is. Now I'm going to go to the next side over there. Over to my right hand side. Take some cadmium yellow. Then take some phaylo blue again. And I'm going to go up here and fill this in. You may think this is a little dark, but I will add some lighter colours into this in just a moment. I find, especially when working on foliage like this, that sometimes, you know, it's much better to work quickly rather than working very slow and methodically. I think sometimes working quickly helps just kind of loosen up and not worry too much about what you're doing. Just concentrate on getting this big colour filled in up here. Get some burnt umber and some cadmium yellow. And again, some phaylo blue. And pop that in there. And I only have a tiny amount of thinners in this. I'm only thinning this very slightly, to be quite honest. Very, very slightly. There we go. A nice dark colour in there. You can soften it back into the rocks as well, look, if you like. So I won't go too far with this now. I'll just go down to about there, thereabouts. Now I want to add slightly, I want to add some of that colour over here. In fact, what I'm going to do is just darken this now, maybe add touches of blue as well. I'm going to take some phaylo blue, and I'm going to add some phaylo blue in here, just here and there. And you may be looking at this thinking, I don't see much difference, but you will. Just by adding little touches of phaylo blue, you're cooling it down slightly. That's all I'm trying to do. I want to cool it down ever so slightly. Just dab, dab, dab over everything. Because I'm going to be adding nice highlights on this very soon. And the highlights will really almost kind of bring it to life, let's say. So I'm going to stand back. I just want to stand back and take a quick look at how this is looking so far. I like the nice sort of hazy effect we have up on top. It's quite nice, isn't it? Now, let me see. Okay, that's not bad. I'll soften some of that across. And these flat brushes are perfect for doing foliage like this. It's just a flat synthetic kind of a brush, but they're fantastic for this. You create some nice kind of rough foliage just by dabbing. Dab, 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 dab. So I think at this stage I'm going to start adding some lighter colours. I think I'll go with some lighter colours first. Give this a quick clean, just rub it on some tissue with some thinners. Get the bulk of that dark colour off of your brush. And next, I'm going to go nice and bright. So I need some phaylo blue on my palette. This is going to be a nice, bright, vibrant green. Well, when I say vibrant, very bright. I'm going to go with phaylo blue, cadmium yellow, and lots of white. In fact, let's take some naples as well. We have a nice bright, bright colour. I'm going with plenty of yellow in this, cadmium yellow. Now I'm going to go up and just start adding and lightening slightly. All right. I need to go brighter, don't I? Let's get some more yellow and more white. Nice bright and lots of thick paint on the brush. You see that? Now with the corner of the brush, look. Just like that. And what I'm doing when I'm painting this is difficult to kind of explain. What I'm doing is I'm painting the outside edges of the branches, you see that, in the foliage, and softening it back in. Okay, so that's the kind of effect I'm going for. So you're seeing just the bright top sides of the foliage. Let's go with more cadmium yellow again, a touch of white, so a bit more yellow this time. And I will be using a palette knife as well, very soon. Just the edge of my brush, you see that? Just the edge. And I'm kind of almost sort of twisting it and turning it as it comes in, you see? Up and down. And it just creates, it gives you these nice little edges to simulate foliage and bushes. It's great for bushes and all that kind of thing. You see what I mean? It just very quickly adds a nice effect to the painting. So I'm going to go off to the other side and I'm going to do the same on the other side. I'm going to start up here, look. Let's get some nice foliage. And you'll notice what I'm doing, I'm bringing the foliage downwards. It's coming down into the painting on both sides. So that brings your eye in. Without you even realizing it, it kind of forces your eyes to look down into the center of the painting and right into the waterfall. So let's just keep going like this. And at this point, I'm using just paint on its own, all right? Nice thick paint. Okay, just like that. And then soften it back in, just very sort of randomly, like this. So you get that nice thick chunk of foliage that comes out. That's quite nice. I like that. I'm going to put a little bit of light on some of these. And come down here. I think I leave this area. I quite like that. I'm going to leave that just for now. I'll take some more cadmium yellow with a little white and create another thick foliage coming out from this side here. And each time I do this, I'm rubbing the top of my brush off some tissue just to keep the colour fresh and clean. Otherwise, your colour will get quite messy very, very quickly. So let's put another one here. So that's just a nice, I think, a nice quick way of creating simple foliage in a painting, isn't it? It's just nice and quick and simple. And you can keep going or you can stop. It's completely up to yourself. I'm going to stop now and I'm going to just take a small brush and I want to put some twigs and branches and stuff like that in there. I'll just take some black on this very small rigger brush, okay? It's what they call a rigger brush, very long, thin brush, okay? Create lovely little lines and all that kind of thing. So you can pick one of these up. They're very handy. I'm going to start with some black and I'm just going to go very quickly and create a few little branches popping out here and there. And you don't have to overdo this. 1 or 2 is all you need. Or 5 or 6. Let's just make it our own. One or two. And don't worry too much about this part because I'm using a palette knife in a moment. That's going to cover a lot of this. So don't be too worried that you're going to make a mess of this. You won't mess it up at all, I promise. Just take your time. Have a bit of fun. And I'll take some Naples yellow and I'll pop a little bit of highlight on some of those, I think. Just a little small highlight just here and there. Just as if they're kind of catching the sunlight just here and there, some of them. That'll do fine. Let's move on to our palette knife. And I have 2 different types of palette knives. I have this one and I also have this one, okay? Both are fantastic, but I think I'll start with this one first, a smaller one. I'm just going to simply grab plenty of cadmium yellow. And I'm just making sure everything is running nicely on camera. I'm going to take a touch of phaylo blue. I'm going to mix those in together nicely. I'll take a touch of white. And I want to go for a kind of a light bluey green, not a warm yellowy green, but a very light bluey green. A cool green, let's say. Let's call it a cool green. So I'm adding bits of white in here now just to get it nice and bright. I'll save the warm greens for later, but first, that's not bad. That's a nice colour now. You can see that. It's a nice cool green. And let's, should we have a bit of fun? Let's have a bit of fun. Let's just pop a little bit of that on there, look. And to be quite honest, there really is no technique for this as such. I like to try different techniques with a knife. What I'm simply doing is scraping it on and just giving the knife little flicks. You see that? Little flicks out. And all I want to do really is just capture the brightness of some of the trees up there. You can be very rough with this, or you can take your time and do little small ones like this if you like. Look, nice little small ones. Or you can just grab some and you can go wild, like this. Just grab some and go wild. At the end of the day, I'm just trying to create an impression of some nice bright foliage, And you can see I'm not really copying the photograph. If you want to copy the photograph exactly, you can, but I prefer to go my own way and just be spontaneous with things like this. Just grab a brush or a knife or whatever it is and just have a bit of fun. Because for me, that's the exciting part of painting. And you'll see what's happening as you're doing it, and it's amazing. It really is. Catch a bit of light up there on top of those. Now I'll stand back and take a look. That's nice. You see, that's just a nice, simple, effective way of creating quick foliage. So I'll mix a bit more now for the other side. I'll just give it a quick mix with my palette knife. And it's pretty much the same thing. Sometimes I'm using the edge of the palette knife like that. Alright. Other times I'm just using the flat. And then putting it on flat and just dabbing it around. It depends really on what you want to do yourself. You don't have to do this. If you want to just leave it as it is, it's absolutely fine. Beautiful. But I would just like to add little lights and stuff like that. Just little highlights here and there for the foliage. And especially with the palette knife, the palette knife leaves behind little chunks of paint which catch the lights in the studio, and it just stands out from the canvas really nicely sometimes. It's almost like a natural highlight. Okay, that's the first stage. The second stage, I'm going to go on to this one. And this palette knife will allow me to create slightly thinner bits of foliage, if you understand what I mean. I'll show you. I've just taken some cadmium yellow and white, and it allows me to just give little flicks like that, you see. And it's just a real nice way. But this is certainly something you should try. It really is a lot of fun. Let me just get rid of this here because I need to get more cadmium yellow on my palette in just a moment. And again, I might not need it, but just a little touch of cadmium yellow in the trees just to add a little vibrancy and some warmth. And you see, I'm being very rough with this. I'm not trying to be very soft and very, careful. I think if we try to be too careful with this kind of a painting, I don't know, it's try not to be too careful. Just try to be a little brave and add some strength to your painting. That's what I would say. Try to add a bit of strength. Don't be shy. I'm taking some blue, some white into that because I want to go down here. I want to add some of these. Look. There's that wonderful little plant down there which has these on it. They're really lovely. I'm just putting little dollops on with my palette knife. And I think this is coming on quite nice. Soften that down. But look, we're still in the very early stages of this painting. We really are. We have a lot more to do, a huge amount, and I will be coming back to all of this foliage another time towards the end of the painting. I will definitely be coming back to it. But I think as a starting point, this is very nice. It'll give us something to sort of work on, if you know what I mean. It'll give us something to work towards, more like. I'll put some of those over here. Just one or two. And perhaps just lighten some of the edges on some of these here with the palette knife as well. And you see the technique there. I'm just kind of dragging it down at an angle. You see that little curve? That's quite a nice technique for foliage. When I create them kind of hanging branches, you see the way they kind of hang down the foliage. That's a nice effect as well. And it does give you a little bit of direction. I think I'll stop there now, my friends. I'm pretty happy with that. I'm quite happy with that. I might just add a bit of brightness up on the top up there. I think it needs just a little bit up here, just to break up that area. So you can see all the work that we've done up to now was just sort of base colours, getting it ready for the palette knife. We kind of aimed towards this point. And there we go. And we can scrub it and we can soften it back if you like. You see, it's completely up to yourself. You don't have to leave it as it is. I think I'll just add a touch of burnt sienna here and there. Really just to create a little bit of colour and just to catch the eye a little bit. That touch of burnt sienna, it catches the eye. As you're looking around the painting and you see these little tiny spots of burnt sienna, it catches the eye. And I'm going to stop at that, my friends. Part 1 finished. Yeah, I think that's pretty good. I might just add, if I can find my little pointy brush, wherever it is. Where did I put my pointy brush? Here it is. What I might do is take some of the yellow and the white with some thinners and just put little flicks. See, some tiny little flicks just here and there. One or two little small leaves just sort of falling from the trees. Now, of course, you don't have to do this, but I think it might be quite nice. Let's just create a feeling. Just one or two small pieces just sort of falling off. And again, it sort of pushes the water back, doesn't it? Okay? And I'll stop at that. That, my friends, is part 2 finished. That's looking quite nice now so far, isn't it? There we go. Let me turn the camera. Now, part 2 finished. I hope you liked it. That's coming on quite nice. I'm very happy with that. A little bit of knife work, I think I find with the knife, it just adds a bit of punch to the painting, doesn't it? Especially with foliage, it adds a little bit of punch. Otherwise, sometimes the foliage tends to kind of get lost in the painting when you're using just a brush. I think sometimes with the palette knife, it just gives the painting a bit of a punch and it catches the eye a little bit more. Do try it, don't be shy. Grab the palette knife and just go for it. It's only paint, all right? I'm going to be back very soon with part 3, working our way down nicely. We'll aim for 4 parts, will we? Part 3 and part 4 should see it finished. So I'm just thinking, you know, it's maybe a bit easier for you if I do a few smaller tutorials rather than doing 2 or 3 big tutorials on one painting. So I think I'll just go with kind of 3 or 4 small videos to finish it, because I find you might be able to concentrate a little better when you're painting it, or if you are even trying it. You might find it easier to follow along and you might not get kind of tired and, let's say, I suppose, bored from looking at the painting so much. I think a shorter video works as well, sometimes a little better than a longer video for something like this. So I'll be right back in the next day or 2 with part 3, and I hope you like it. Okay, thank you so much for joining me, and do subscribe. You're missing out on lots of fantastic little tutorials. So do subscribe, and thank you to my patrons for your support. I will have a nice one online for patrons very soon as well. So God bless and happy painting. I'll see you later, my friends.